Alright, so the weekend has gone by, and I assume that all of you, if not most of you, have seen X-Men Apocalypse. Why? Because it's time to talk some spoilers, that's why. I saw X-Men Apocalypse for the second time a few nights back. I still stand by my original score, and I still stand by my original statement, or my original opinion, saying that it's not as strong as Days of Future Past or First Class, but still, I feel like it is still a fun and a great time for an X-Men movie, despite not being nearly as well crafted as the previous two X-Men movies that were of the First Class trilogy. Spoilers, so from here on out, there's going to be spoilers for X-Men Apocalypse, so if you have not seen X-Men Apocalypse, go watch the movie first, or watch my spoiler-free review, and if you still don't care, welcome, I guess. Now, I assume that since a lot of you have seen X-Men Apocalypse, I'm not going to talk about the plot, but what I'm going to rather do instead is talk in depth about the pros and cons to what I didn't like and what I did like, or vice versa, whatever. So anyways, with that being said, let's talk some X-Men Apocalypse spoilers. Now, as I stated in my cons for X-Men Apocalypse in my spoiler-free review, I said that the first, or at least in my opinion, that the first 30 to 45 minutes are a bit rocky, so I'm saving those parts for the cons, even though there's one specific part that I will talk about that I actually did like in X-Men Apocalypse. And that's the scene where Scott Summers, played by Tyshawn, is being taken to Xavier's school by Alex Summers, who is Havoc, and I gotta say, it was so cool seeing Havoc again, because I think it was only in Days of Future Past, or maybe I think one scene, and this is where he meets Jean Grey. It's really cool seeing Scott and Jean meet for the first time. I'm not gonna lie, I smiled quite a bit. Alex and Hank outside, where Charles asks Scott, "Don't be afraid, man. Just show us your power, man." Then Scott just lasers this tree, and then Charles says, "You know, my grandfather planted that tree when I was 5. That was my favorite tree." I was really honest with the only part that I liked the first half an hour until the incredible scene with Magneto in the woods. Magneto, or Eric, or Henrik, had prevented a huge accident in this metal factory. But it was just like a metal or a mining factory in Poland, where he is currently living with his new family. His co-workers rat him out when Magneto and his wife are trying to get away, but unfortunately the cops have the kid, and they said, "Are you Magneto?" And just the look on his face, I just thought, he's just not going to get away from his past. Like, there is just no way he's going to be able to do it. And it truly shows when his daughter, who shows to be a mutant, crows or birds go after these soldiers. One of the soldiers gets distracted, fires a bow, an arrow, out of nowhere, and it hits the daughter and Magneto's wife, killing them both. And here's the thing, at both times I saw this movie, the audience was like, so yes, Magneto unfortunately loses his new wife and his new child due to the police and due to his co-workers ratting him out. And he uses the coin that he used to kill Sebastian Shaw to wipe out the officers. And then he just screams, "What do you want? Is this what you want from me? Why do you do this?" Like, I know it wasn't those exact words, but the way he was screaming up, it was just like, you know, every time that Magneto tries to live a normal life, he ends up getting screwed over in the process. So he's convinced at this point that being a villain is the only thing he knows how to do, which is really, really sucky. Apocalypse wakes up in Egypt, and he goes around, recruits Storm after being... And by the way, just again, the second time seeing this movie, Oscar Isaac is a badass Apocalypse. He is amazing. And I know people might be complaining about like how he not be tall enough, but here's the thing. Tom Cruise did the same thing for Jack Reacher. He wasn't apparently tall enough to be Jack Reacher, but he kicked ass. And I bring that same comparison to Apocalypse with Oscar Isaac, because Oscar Isaac was an intimidating Apocalypse, especially when they manipulated his voice. Oh my god, I love that voice manipulation. It's so awesome. Then he makes Storm stronger, gives her the gray hair that we're all used to seeing. And one of my favorite scenes in the entire film, where Apocalypse recruits Angel. I loved the scene, because now if you remember, in the first 30 minutes, Angel was in a fight club, and Nightcrawler, who was played by Cody Smith McPhee. I know I'm pronouncing his name wrong again, but if I'm sorry. Nightcrawler screws up one of Angel's wings, and Angel is drunk off his ass, and he goes down to Apocalypse saying there is nothing you could possibly give to me. And Apocalypse is just like, Okay, you say that now. Well, I know he didn't say that, but I know he was probably thinking that. Then Apocalypse takes out his hand and starts transforming Angel while an Iron Maiden song is going on. This song couldn't have been more perfect for the scene. I'm thinking about the scene right now, I'm thinking about the song, and I want to get that song. So then Apocalypse pretty much transforms Angel into this badass armed angel, Archangel, and Archangel looks amazing. I loved what they did with them. I loved his costume design. I think he looked awesome. And yeah, Apocalypse recruits Psylocke, and then Apocalypse recruits Magneto. It takes him to Auschwitz, where his parents were taken and then later slaughtered in front of him, as you guys saw in X-Men First Class. If you guys have not seen X-Men First Class, sorry I spoiled that for you, but I did say spoilers. And then Apocalypse tells him, if you reach far enough, you'll find that you can control the very Earth itself. Well, the magnetic poles at least, not the storms, because that's what we have Storm for. And then Magneto just destroys everything in Auschwitz, and this is one of the few scenes I got mad goosebumps. Now, going back to Charles Xavier, at one point he finds Moira, who apparently awakened Apocalypse. Because of the power of curiosity, Apocalypse was awakened. Raven comes back to the school, so then after that, Charles, Hank, Moira, Alex, and Raven go to Cerebro, who has been newly designed. Cool redesign, by the way, where Charles can hopefully find Magneto, and he's been too late because Magneto's already been recruited by Apocalypse. Then Apocalypse notices that Magneto's there, and the moment I saw that, I just thought, oh no, this cannot be good. Apocalypse takes over Charles, and then one of the scenes I was just like, oh shit. And that's what Apocalypse uses Charles to use Cerebro to make every, I guess, superpower in the world fire their nukes. Apocalypse and the Four Horsemen arrive at the X-Mansion, where one of my favorite scenes takes place, and that's the new Quicksilver scene, where the X-Mansion is being destroyed. Oh my god, this scene was so damn brilliant. Now, I will say this, it isn't as amazing as Days of Future Past kitchen scene was, but this scene is still amazing to watch. Seeing Quicksilver getting everybody and seeing his reactions to everybody, especially to the guy that's about to kiss a girl and he's just like, ugh. Sweet Dreams playing along with the scene couldn't have been any more perfect. That was so well done. So I know I jumped forward a little bit, but I want to go back and talk about one certain incident that happens. Jean, I think Jubilee, I believe, and Nightcrawler go to the mall. Then they say Return of the Jedi, and Jean Grey says a line that pretty much gives a middle finger to Brett Ratner's X-Men The Last Stand. They're saying, I think we can all agree that the third of franchises suck, and, well, not Civil War. But then a helicopter comes, and we're thinking, okay, cool, the mutants are gonna be saved. And then there's this one guy who lifts up his glasses, and it turns out to be Colonel Stryker. Or Lieutenant Stryker is one of those things. But Stryker comes, disables all the mutants. Then we go to the base that was from X-Men 2 originally, and it's on that facility are Moira, Hank, Raven, and Quicksilver. And then at this point, Quicksilver says, alright, do you know Magneto? And she said, why? Well, he's my father. And just like, what? And it's like, well, my parents did it. And Days of Future Past, Evan Peters killed it as Quicksilver, and yet again he kills it as Quicksilver in Apocalypse. I thought he was brilliant once again. So then Jean Grey, Scott, and Nightcrawler are in the facility trying to rescue them, and they run into, which I think was a badass cameo, was Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Oh my god, I remember at both times when I saw the film, people were clapping and cheering that Wolverine, because who doesn't love Wolverine? Wolverine is badass. I cannot wait till the third Wolverine film, which I'll talk about in just a few moments. And then now we go to the final battle between the Four Horsemen and Apocalypse going against the X-Men while they're trying to save Charles Xavier from being taken over by Apocalypse. Now, I'm going to say this once again, now I've seen it twice. The last 45 minutes were what The Last Stand should have been, because The Last Stand, let's face it, it was not a good movie. At least in my opinion, it was not a good movie. Where in The Last Stand, it was just all fighting. Apocalypse brought in emotion to that fight, and it brought in another element to that battle, which I'll get to in a little bit. Seeing Nightcrawler going up against Archangel, seeing Beast going up against Psylocke. Oh my god, yes. Oh, just so brilliant. I couldn't I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was so amazing. Basically, Magneto is wrecking the earth while everybody is fighting off the X-Men, while Apocalypse is trying to transfer himself into Charles Xavier. Quicksilver and Raven are trying to get Magneto out of his state, and then Magneto is just going like, hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm helping out Apocalypse. But thankfully, Nightcrawler saves Xavier in time. And then and this is the part where, honestly, Apocalypse scared me. He wakes up, he does this scream, or does this yell, and it sounded like he was demonically possessed. And honestly, that scared the shit out of me. To the people who worked on Apocalypse's voice, he scared the crap out of me. So the X-Men are trying to get away, or from what are in that jet that they stole from Stryker's base. Archangel takes it down along with Psylocke, but Archangel goes down with the jet. Then Quicksilver, in one of the coolest scenes, just freezes time, goes up against Apocalypse, and just punches the crap out of him until Apocalypse traps him. And I just thought, oh no. Oh shit, no, 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 no. Like, breaks his arm, breaks his leg. I don't know if he breaks his arm, but he like breaks something and he breaks his leg. And I was so close to honestly crying at this point because Quicksilver is amazing and I love Quicksilver. But then Psylocke happens, I was like, no, 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 no. Apocalypse says, finish him. And then right when it looks like she's about to kill him, she swipes up at Apocalypse. It's revealed to be Raven. And I was just thinking, oh my god, thank you. So the Apocalypse calls Charles down. And then Charles remembers, wait, I'm still connected to him. So then he goes to the astral plane, which I thought was a genius element to bring into this battle. He fights Apocalypse, gains the upper hand initially, but then Apocalypse just says, you think that's gonna stop me? Yeah, right. Knocks him right down, and then at this point, I'm just like, no crap. And then right when I saw a shot of Jean Grey, I thought, there's only one way this can be stopped, and I think I know what's gonna happen, and if it does happen, I will scream with joy. Charles begs Jean to help him out and to unleash her true power. Then after some time, Jean finally comes out and just unleashes the Phoenix on him. I'm not gonna lie guys, when I saw Jean unleash the Phoenix on Apocalypse, I was like this. Yes! Yeah, I was just, oh my god. I wanted to scream with joy so much because I wanted to see the Phoenix done right. And finally, the Phoenix was done right in the X-Men movies. Thank you, Bryan Singer, for doing it right this time. And not Brett Ratner. Jean starts to annihilate Apocalypse. He starts getting away. And at this point, Magneto has turned on Apocalypse. And everyone's just firing everything that they have on him. But before Storm penetrates his protective shield, I think. And everyone with all their might just destroys Apocalypse. And I was just like, oh, that is what the last stand should have been! All at the end, they're back at the mansion. Jean and Magneto are rebuilding the mansion. Magneto once again leaves Charles, but on good rights because they're still friends. Then after Magneto leaves, we see Charles going to the training room, or the simulator room, where we see Raven training Scott, Jean, Quicksilver, Nightcrawler, and Storm are going against the Sentinels from Days of Future Past. And as soon as I saw the Sentinels, I was like, oh my god. And then, right there was the ending. But then the post-credit scene happens, and we see Essex getting the Weapon X. And here I thought, are they gonna do X-23 again? Like, if so, do it. Like, I want to see X-23 again. Now, if you guys know the Essex, it's run by Mr. Sinister. This guy is business. Now, like I said before, guys, I do have some issues with the film. First of all, in the first half an hour, the pacing is honestly all over the place. There are some scenes that feel like they run long than others. Some scenes I feel like ended too quickly. Like, particular, the Fight Club scene, I just thought was cool, but it could have been done a lot better. In particular, though, Jennifer Lawrence as Raven, I really liked her in First Class in Days of Future Past, but here, I felt like that she just did not care to be there. And I felt like that she was delivering her lines so flat and so wooden, to I was just like, okay, I can see where people are coming from now. Psylocke, I was excited to see Olivia Munn play an X-Men in an X-Men movie, or at least an X-Men villain. Again, she is so underused, she has barely any lines, even though she kicks a lot of ass as Cyclops physically. But when it comes to lines, she has barely any lines, and I feel like she was so underused as Psylocke. I think when it came to the final battle, there were some bits here and there where I did feel the film's running time just a tad bit, just a little bit. All in all, I had a great time with the X-Men Apocalypse. I still had a great time the second time. Is that as good as Days of Future Past or First Class? No. Or even X-Men 1 and 2. I think it's honestly the number 5 in terms of X-Men film rankings for me. But still, it is a great time at the theater. I think X-Men fans will still enjoy this movie. I sure as hell did. It sadly will not be my top 10 of the year this year, even though I really wanted to love this movie, guys. But I still had a great time with the movie, and that is why X-Men Apocalypse got my 4 out of 5 rating. And also, just a little thing for you guys. I have set up an email account just for you guys, so if you want to send me emails or anything, send me an email to this email account right here starting tonight, or pretty much whenever you see this video. The email will also be in the description below, but if you want to send me an email or something, go right ahead. I cannot promise I'll be able to reply to all of them, but I will promise that I will read as many as I possibly can. Alrighty guys, so if you enjoyed my spoiler review of X-Men Apocalypse, please like, share, and subscribe to see more content from me. And, as always, until the next spoiler-filled review or review in general, I will see you all next time.